Joining us on the program is Stephanie Barclay, the leader of one of Notre Dame Law School's newest initiatives focused on religious liberty. Professor Barclay, welcome to Notre Dame Day.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here.
Great to have you. You got your first taste of law school, I understand, at a very young age. Could you please tell us about how that experience inspired you to pursue law as an adult and how you developed an interest in religious liberty law specifically as a result of those studies?
Sure. So when I was about 10 years old, my dad's business was involved in a legal dispute, and it was appealed up to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in California. And for that case, my dad, I grew up in rural Arizona, but my dad decided to take me with him for a daddy-daughter trip. I expected that the most exciting part of that trip was going to be the food at Chinatown, but it turned out to be getting to watch the oral argument in that courtroom sitting next to my dad. And as I watched the attorney making arguments to help our family's business, I realized, first of all, what he was doing looked like a lot of fun. You get paid to argue. Who doesn't want to do that? But second of all, I realized what power for good this attorney had for our family. And after that, I had the chance to be involved in my little middle school mock trial, and I was hooked. From that point on, I wanted to go to law school someday.
That's a fantastic story. Now, you did join Notre Dame Law School in 2020, both as a faculty member and also to direct the new law school's new religious liberty initiative. So could you please tell us a little something about the transformative initiative and why you think it belongs at Notre Dame Law School?
This is such an exciting initiative that Notre Dame has launched under the leadership of Dean Marcus Cole, focusing on protecting religious liberty for people of all faiths and promoting more scholarship and events for thought leaders. And a key piece of this is the new clinic that we'll be launching dealing with religious liberty. Notre Dame, I think, is so well positioned to be a leader in this space because it's key to Catholic teaching, the idea of protecting freedom of conscience for people of all faiths. This is in Dignitatis Humanae. And as Pope Francis has said, this freedom of religion remains one of America's most precious possessions. All are called to be vigilant, to preserve and defend that freedom from everything that would threaten or compromise it. That's exactly what we're doing here at Notre Dame, and I think are really well positioned to take a leadership role, not just domestically, but also on the international stage as we are expanding ways in which we can increase the dialogue scholarly and amongst litigators and other practitioners and folks on the Hill about this important right.
I want to talk to you a little bit more about the launch of the Religious Liberty Clinic, which is going to put the university really on the map in this regard. But I also want to let people know that as the head of this clinic, you will become the first woman to lead a law school's Religious Liberty Clinic in the entire country. So congratulations for that. And I'm curious, how does it feel to make history in this way?
Well, thank you. And I'm just so grateful for this opportunity and the trust that the Dean and Notre Dame have placed in me. It's a very exciting program. And I think that it's neat to get to bring different perspectives to this very important work. So, for example, just last month for International Women's History Month, our Religious Liberty Initiative hosted an event that was about how religious liberty protections empower women. And we brought together women from different faith communities. We had a Muslim woman, Indigenous woman. We had an Orthodox Jewish woman and a woman representing a Catholic perspective, just to talk about different ways in which it's critical for women's autonomy and identity and empowerment to be able to express some of the most meaningful aspects of their lives and often to benefit from the charitable work that religious organizations provide. So that's just one of many ways that I'm excited to bring some fresh perspectives to this really important issue and to bring in voices of other women as well.
So I wonder if you could share with us about some of the cases that your clinic has worked on up to this point and the impact that you think the clinic is going to have on a larger scale, both for your clients, but I think also for your students here at Notre Dame Law School.
Yeah, there have been a number of different cases that our students have really enjoyed getting to work on so far. In district courts, in New York, in Arizona, in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, and in a few different Supreme Court cases already. Our students have had the chance to work on briefs where we have represented Muslims, Orthodox Jewish organizations, Native Americans, Catholics, and in all of these briefs, we're promoting this core ideal that without freedom of conscience, freedom to live out the most important, authentic aspects of your life, which often have to do with religion if you're a religious person, then no other freedoms really matter. So one of the cases that we represented this year was amicus briefs defending an indigenous sacred place in Arizona called Oak Flat. This is a place that is sacred to a number of different tribes, including the Apache tribe, and it's being threatened right now with a proposed mining project. The federal government has been considering trading the land away to a foreign mining interest that would turn this sacred place into a crater in the ground, 2 miles long and deep enough that it could fit an entire monument in it. So it would be impossible for these different native peoples to be able to practice the ceremonies that they have long practiced at this sacred place, things like the sunrise ceremony, which is really critical to the development and identity of young women blossoming into womanhood. So our brief drew attention to ways in which our country at times has had an unfortunate history of showing a callous disregard of this type of religious practice of indigenous peoples. We also pointed out that there's a lot of different types of religious traditions, including Catholic religious traditions, that hold different geographic areas as special and important, whether it's pilgrimage sites or some of the historic missions in Arizona and California that are still active places of worship for Catholic church members. And some of these places are on federal property. And so our brief spoke about how unthinkable it would be if the federal government one day realized that there was copper underneath one of these historic Catholic missions and just said, we're going to demolish this mission, nothing to see here. There would be, I think, an outcry if that happened. The same should be true with this sort of indigenous sacred site. And we've been really happy to see that there's been a broad coalition speak up about this issue. We've also filed a Supreme Court amicus brief dealing with a case coming out of Maine dealing with protections for different schools trying to serve underprivileged populations. And we filed a brief last semester where we were representing different Muslim organizations and scholars, writing about how what it feels like to be a religious minority during times of uncertainty or public unrest, and how religious minorities are often scapegoated. And they were writing, speaking up in defense of the Orthodox Jewish community, which was also being targeted with some of the COVID restrictions in New York at the time.
Well, Professor, no doubt you guys are very, very busy, and I want to congratulate you on all your successful endeavors so far. And we're certainly blessed to have you at the Notre Dame Law School, and thank you for joining us here today on Notre Dame Day.
Thank you. I feel very blessed to be here. Great to see you.